What is going on YouTube, Twitch, and you, the individual? My name's Jeff, Strumwood Guitars. We're just going to get right into it. Welcome to the bench. Ask your questions. Do what you need to do. We got a couple things going on. Right now I'm just going to be working on this ukulele glue up behind me. And we'll be going here. All right. I think I got everything there and there. Sweet. Okay. So I've got, we'll get to the one that's on the bench in a moment, which is the Gretsch. We've got a couple coming up. But this one here, I'm just trying to get ready for glue up. I just got to take a little bit of material off the backside. And, it's not a lot. So this is a ukulele. Unfortunately, I don't have a great way of showing this. I think you can kind of see what's going on here, but it's a ukulele that has had some flood damage to it. So this was a handmade one from Maui, or does it say where it was made? No. Anyway, it had some significant flood damage on it, and so everything was warping and twisting. So I basically took it all apart, and now we're kind of putting it back together. It's funny because if there's one instrument that I just cannot handle, it's this one. But we'll see if we can get it all lined up. Actually, maybe I can post this here. I don't normally do woodwork on this bench, kind of my main one here, because I want to keep it clean for when I'm doing setups. But all I'm really trying to do is shave the wood here. Actually, let me flip you over. So this is the guitar that we'll be working on next, or once this thing gets glued up. Yeah, I've just got this ukulele here, and I'm just trying to do this overlay. So everything is coming off on it. You can see there's a good separation in there. And so what I'm doing is I'm just shaving back this a little bit, because all the wood has changed. I ended up actually steaming a lot of this, trying to get the shape back into it. It got absolutely soaked. And of course the wood just sucked up all that moisture, and it's been here for a while, but that was just one of those things to help it come through. And get the bend back into the sides. So I'm aligning up the top, getting this all back together, and like there was a lot of big bumps that came off the side. I think this is just laminate wood anyway. Like it's not or like a form of laminate wood, or perhaps it's multiple layers. I'm not really too sure, but it did kind of bulge out. So I've got it back together, which is nice. And then once I just take a little bit off this side, I will be able to get the whole sides together and back on the top. And then from there, we can then shape the back and put that on here. So what I'm trying to do right now is just get a little bit off this lip right here that allows me to kind of poke it in, because right now there's a big gap. It doesn't line up. As well as with the curve of the rest of the instrument. So it's just a little bit too much wood here. You can see it's wanting to bulge out on the end here. So I'm just going to bring this lip back just a touch, and that should hopefully give us what we're trying to do. So that is what I'm up to. I'll be back here. It's a little bit of perhaps a little bit more of an entertaining shot. So the whole point of all of these live streams is just kind of hanging out. So welcome, hello. I hope you are neat and ask your questions or do what you need. I'll kind of go back and forth looking at the chat, so if I don't immediately see it, actually, I'm going to put a little bit of, I call it safety tape. I think I'm also going to have to refinish this, which I'm super excited about. But it'll be a lot easier than trying to clean it all up. And once I get this glued up, then we'll flip to the Gretsch that's on the bench. So hello and welcome. Just taking a little bit off at a time, and eventually we'll be able to line this all back up. Trying to see if you can actually, trying to see what I'm doing. I'm just kind of kissing this side with a chisel. trying to take off ever so slight, because it's not far off. And I think I'll flip to a to sandpaper shortly once I get a little bit closer. That's the fun thing about doing these types of repairs is that, at least for me, is that they're always different. Even doing side repair on an acoustic guitar is different from that on a ukulele, kind of, sort of. So it's going to bend something like that. I'm just kind of skating my chisel along the side here. I'm not doing anything. I always dislike running that stuff towards myself, but I'm not doing anything too aggressive. Okay, so that's lined up there. This is lined up here. Actually, I'm just going to clamp this to kind of its end position. I think that might help me here. Too many moving parts. Yeah, that does it. There we go. I think we're good on this side. So now I can kind of mark this. just gonna start using some 220 grit. All I'm doing is I'm just marking a lip. Now that I actually have this sitting here with the clamps, it's just this little lip right here. And I'm just having to take a little bit of the edge of this off, and then this should just pop right into position. And also my top is together, it's nice and flat, so it's giving me everything that I'm looking for. And I'm just marking these because I'm going to take these clamps off. It's a little tricky to be working with these on. So I'm just making a mark just inside of where the wood ends, and then I'll kind of come to the complete with some sandpaper, which is generally the way you would want to do that. I can't add wood very easily. Still in chisel territory. It's not quite that close. Yeah, the wood is just like chipping away at me here. I don't even know what this is. Then, when it's all back together, I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself, but when it's all back together, then I'm going to sand it back and then just re-lacquer it. Not coming apart very easily here. That's better. Work smarter, not harder. Well, it's slow going, but that's working. Actually, I wonder if a smaller chisel would do the trick. The big one just has too much grip, I guess. Oh yeah, let's do that. Again, just enough to get it close, and then we will clean it up with some sandpaper. We're getting closer. Well, that's not what I wanted. quite what I'm trying to accomplish here, but so once we get the sides cleaned up, then I should be able to glue the top back on. And that will do it here for us. Just on this one. Of course, wet wood, this coming out of a flood, all of the wood has just soaked up all this water and just warped and manipulated into all sorts of different directions. Which doesn't really help us, but it's okay. Adds to all the fun, I guess. It's working though. We're heading in the right direction. And yeah, I'm not terribly worried about, obviously I'm not trying to go out of my way to damage it, but I'm also not worried if we do get a little bit of scratching and stuff on the top, because again, I'm just going to end up sanding this back a bit. Perhaps even just taking off the lacquer and then re-lacquering it all. Because this wood is in very poor shape. Yeah, I don't like using that on this. It's too much power. Too much grit. Of course, I just chipped off a little piece because the wood's so dry. I don't know if I'll have any success. Just a little dab of brown glue in here. And I'm just doing this on this little fragment that came off. I'm not trying to glue this back up yet. This stuff can sometimes be so finicky and so delicate, and it's often quite time consuming. Obviously, when you're taking the backs and sides off of guitars, that becomes a thing, but just another minute to set up. That should help. Actually, let me just use this as a wedge for a moment. Just to apply the pressure that we need. Just a second. Cool. Actually, we'll give that a sec. Let's flip over here and take a look at this one. Okay, so what we got here is it's a Gretsch 50 something something. I don't know actually Gretsch numbers. They've got a lot of numbers on there, and they can they're often quite confusing. But this one's getting a couple things. We're just doing a setup. This was an online purchase, so this client bought it from another guy on Marketplace or Craigslist or whatever the transaction was, and obviously some tales were told to get the sale, which is always awful to hear, but thankfully it's nothing too dramatic. But there is a nut that's on here that is, well, it's not good. I don't think I'm going to be able to get a camera in there, but like there is a full gap underneath this nut. Or like more than half of it can get under there. The it doesn't fit on the width of the nut as well. It's too thin, it's not wide enough. So you can actually feel the fingerboard edges. It rocks, and then also there is an insane amount of glue coming out from that. So obviously, someone who didn't know, and that's where the kitting is. So the listing said, repaired and fixed by myself. I'm a pro luthier, so forth. And a little sidebar, I cannot stand that term. That's like saying you're a producer. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just mean like just because you have a computer and do some music editing, So it's kind of the same thing with guitar repair. I've seen some scary things. So anyway, that was basically the point, was that it doesn't, you have nothing to worry about because I did it correctly, and everything will be good, which isn't the case. It's not true at all. So, yeah, we will basically just knock this out, put a new one in. Oh my gosh, yeah, that is bad. I don't think you're going to be able to pick that up, even if I hold this up to the camera. If we like move this right in. Oh yeah, you can see that. Yeah, it's not good. There's like glue seeping out of there, and so what we'll do is move that around. Sorry, we'll take that out and get a much better fitting one. Also, this is the wrong nut cosmetically. If you were to look at this guitar online, it actually comes with a white nut, and my client would like that to be replaced. So, no problemo. Your wish may come true. This actually that almost looks like epoxy, which I really hope it's not. Epoxy and guitars don't mix. Like at all. So hopefully we can get this sorted out. Let's see what's going on. Oh boy. Yeah, that is concrete. I don't know if that's going to come off. The one thing we have in our advantage though is that this was, like, as I said, it was poorly done. Again, I don't think you're going to be able to see this, but even if I were to move the neck angle, bring that right up. Yeah, I can't really quite see it, but there's a very substantial gap underneath this. Like I can fit half of a blade underneath there. So I might luck out and be able to knock it off, which normally I do. What I was just going to do is, because I can see the glue everywhere, I was just going to score this a little bit, and then when I knock it out, oh yeah, that is tough. Does not seem like super glue. I don't want to drip, like you can see the fingerboard in behind it. Ugh, man, it is. That's not good. Well, that's soft under there. Well, let's just give it a little knock and see what happens. So here's my patent pending nut remover bediddler, and it is essentially just a block of wood. Often I will take a piece of plexi or something and actually take like a small clamp in behind it, and just like a trigger clamp, and then when you're knocking this, it just kind of can only come up. This one isn't going to follow any rules, so we'll just give it a couple knocks and see what happens. There we go. Snap. Hopefully that's just the glue snapping, which it appears is. Yeah, that little chunk there actually looks like epoxy, but the rest of it looks like super glue. Okay, well, that's good. So yeah, there's a very common thought that if you buy one of these, and that's actually what we're throwing in here, is a new tusk nut. I'm not really a big fan of doing the prefab stuff. I prefer to do bone in all cases. But it was the request of my client to do that, and it's on my guitar, so no problem. And one of those things that you can do as well is try and find. One of those things that you can do as well is try and find the right sized nut that will pop in place, so that you don't have to use so much glue or paint or whatever to kind of hide your maybe subpar repair skills. Whether that's if you're sending it to a tech, hopefully if you're sending it to somebody and you're paying for that service, hopefully it doesn't come back looking like that. That's kind of par for the course. But if you're doing it at home, and that's kind of the whole thing, and side note, that's kind of what this whole thing is. Everything that I'm doing here with all these live streams and stuff, I've got a lot of content coming. There's a couple videos that's on YouTube, and actually they've performed quite well, which is good. That's awesome. That's very flattering, and it kind of tells me that it's something that people want. Obviously, there's a ton of guitar-related stuff, so I'm not implying that my way is the only way to do it or whatever. It's just, here's another way of doing it. But kind of the concept of that is that you can take some of these jobs onto yourself and try and doing some of these things. I will have probably more defined, better angles videos and stuff, but like the live stream is, I'm working, so come hang out, come say hello. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. I like this concept, so hopefully if you're watching, you're digging it. If you're on YouTube, you can give it a like and stuff, and just kind of let me know that what you'd like to see and what can get better. I'm pretty open with that stuff. I'm not trying to, like I said, I'm not trying to claim that it's the best or anything. So, well, that's interesting. That looks like the fingerboard has actually been cut back. It is. It's been rounded over here. Oh boy. That's why there was a big giant gap there. This is not the original nut that I just took off. This was, someone has attempted to replace it. But the issue why it's here is because there's a lot of fret noise. So the notes are sharp in the first couple frets, and then also it just doesn't feel very good. And that's a very clear tell sign that your nut is too high, which is funny because it actually frets out almost everywhere, meaning that it's actually too low. So, but it was sitting on a weird angle because it's only sitting on about half of a shelf. So this little section in here that we're doing, this is the nut shelf, and that's just where it obviously sits on. But if this isn't, you want this to be smooth. This has to be removed of all material, and also you want no gaps. In a perfect world, against this and against the fingerboard. And once I get this glue off, then we can take a look at, yeah, there's some of this is really tough to get off. Some of it is coming off really easily, but it looks like there was we either didn't clean when we first took it off, or we just tried throwing some more glue under there. But yeah, so hopefully when we put this all back together, we can kind of see what's going on with the fingerboard, because that doesn't look, this doesn't look good. I don't know if it's really cutting through on the camera here, but this whole section that's in here, no, you can't see that at all, even if I come right up. But this section, nah, can't see it. Anyway, that section, it's not it should be flush. Fingerboard, and then I guess, well, the fingerboard to the rest of the neck should be a sharp 90 degrees, and that way it gives it to you. It's not really the end of the world. It doesn't do anything to playability. It's more so just for appearance, really. But those details matter. At least in my eyes, they do. I really like when everything is sharp corners and clean corners and symmetrical. I'm a huge fan of symmetrics, so having a symmetrical, the whole way around, it goes a long way. Again, this is my business. This is what I do. And that's my name that's going out there. So I care about those little details. And honestly, it doesn't take that much longer to do it correctly. I often do things that take me longer than they should because I'm trying to do it absolutely perfectly the first time. I get called out on that often, but it's okay. It's a loving trait, I guess. So these are, I doubt that anyone's going to be watching the full VOD on these on YouTube, but if you are, just give it a like and comment on something that you would like to see in future. That would be greatly appreciated. And I think for the foreseeable future, the next couple of weeks, I think I'm just going to try different times, different lengths, different parts of the day. I'm just going to see what works. I'm not going to be streaming every single day in future when we kind of sort this all out. But for right now, I'm just trying to see what is kind of the best time for people to come check this out. I did one last night. I might be back on again later tonight. I've got a couple hours. We've got to do this, kind of shape this nut, set this up, and hopefully glue this ukulele is kind of all I'm trying to accomplish at this moment. So hopefully we can get that done. But I probably will be back on again later tonight. I was on last night, and yeah, there was a bunch of people chatting, which was kind of cool. Kind of my whole idea on this. I want to kind of try and build a community, if that's actually a thing you can say, but you know, an online support group. We can all help each other. I'm not standing here telling you that I have all the answers. I certainly do not. I'm fairly new to the craft myself. One day I'll go into my whole story on how I got into this, but yeah, I'm still learning every day. I like learning tips from really anybody. So even if you are a hobbyist, but you've been doing something different on your own, feel free to share your experience. That's how we all learn. I'm a huge believer in sharing that stuff. Knowledge is power unless you don't want to share it, right? So kind of becomes a pointless trade, if you ask me, but that's my 10 cents on that. Right now, I'm just trying to get the rest of this glue up. But you also want to be really careful with not shaping this differently. I would say the flatter the better with this. And keeping that kind of right angle. Generally, this should be like a full 90 degrees or close to that. Ideally, I should say. When these are being built and stuff, and keeping that shape is kind of paramount in order to getting a nice fitting nut that's covering all the gaps. Being able to see underneath it or behind it just doesn't look very good. So I don't want to change the angle where all of a sudden I've been gouging. Oh, I'm doing that off the camera, but just need a different angle. But I don't want to be like gouging all of this and scooping it out. Now all of a sudden there's a big drop and you can't actually see anything inside of that. So that's one of those things where just a little bit at a time, and then once you've kind of removed the glue, then we can kind of look at it from there. But I actually have some nut files which work great, and it kind of just fills the whole slot. I lent them to a friend, and he has taken them on the road with him, so I won't see those for a couple of months. So another thing that you can do, again, just being kind of cautious of it, is actually just using some small needle files. And then all I do with this is I just run it. You can see what I'm doing. I just kind of run it along the edges and just make sure that I'm not adding any sort of contour to it. Just a little bit at a time. I'll also do it on the face too. There's still some glue sitting on this. Oh. And then, yeah, this will allow us to have a nice seated replacement. And hopefully this is the same size. I actually don't even know if it is. So having calipers is always good. Hey, hello. Any tips on fret repair? Has a few broken? When you say broken fret, do you mean that there's a big dent in the fret? Because yeah, that can be a thing for sure. Buzzing damaged frets, and I'm thinking of just buying a new neck. Yeah, I mean, honestly, a new neck, especially from Fender, is going to cost you a pretty penny. You obviously can do that. That would be good. But there's a chance that maybe even that new neck shows up and it doesn't fit properly or correctly. So it is something that you can do. But yeah, I don't know if maybe you mean dented frets or if it is actually a damaged or sorry, a broken fret. That's a little bit different because you might just need a new fret. But that's yeah, dents. Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, depending on how deep they are, kind of a general, at least my general rule of thumb for doing a refret or a replacement is typically about a third of the size of the fret. So, you know, if you only have this much and a third of it is dent, it's going to take a lot of material off. If you're not familiar with the process, when you're doing a fret level, whatever your low part is a big beam. And actually one of the next guitar, well, one of the guitars is actually going to be this, but you generally have a big beam that you're running all the way over. You got some sandpaper on it. So in order to get, you know, obviously you can get a half size too, which I sometimes use if it's just a spot repair. But what you're doing is you're taking down the material of the frets on the side from it, because that rocking is really where you start getting fret noise. And if it has any sort of dents, obviously the string is sitting now in that. The string can get caught, especially if it's in this region or up top. Obviously in solos you'll feel it, but if you're playing chords you'll notice this, and this is quite common. You'll see a lot of dents in the first couple of frets. The cowboy chord area, I like to call it. But yeah, if you've got dents in there, I mean, it is something that you can do, but you do need to level them out in order to do that. Now, if you've got really old frets, it's kind of, hopefully you have someone close to you that can kind of help you guide that, because, like I said, my general rule of thumb is about a third of the fret, because if you have to get down past those pits, you have to sand that all the way out. And now what you're doing is you're sanding all of the material off of all of the frets nearby, so you've just worn off a whole bunch of play to kind of fix that one fret. You can replace just one fret or a couple of frets if you need like a partial refret. People will do that. It is a little bit trickier, but it gets to that point where if all of your frets kind of have some pitting or wear, it's very common on the B and E strings to have pits come in and run all the way down. But yeah, that would be one of those things to do. Fret work is one of my favorite things to do, actually. But it's one of those things where, yeah, it can add up really quickly as far as having to get all of that stuff done. Even if you're doing a full refret, now again, it depends on where you're looking at. But anyone, I mean, $300 to $600 or $700 is kind of an average price for like a full refret. If you're doing that, you're probably still looking at more than that for a neck or similar to, which, to be honest, is going to need fret work when it comes from the factory. Probably even more so because that's just coming in a box and it's not matched to your guitar. So I probably would recommend, having said all that, to if you have someone nearby that you can kind of bring it to, just even get an idea of that, because that's one of those things where you can't set up a guitar that doesn't have good playing frets, period. Like if you have all those dents and stuff, you're probably hearing it, so. Yeah, I mean that's a great price, to be honest. So I guess that's kind of up to you, and also, you know, it's kind of par for the course. I actually have a guitar that came in from. I got one that just got refretted by a guy who said that he refrets guitars, and it was like a kind of like this one. It was an online purchase, and yep, no problem, it's good, and it shows up in it. It's not. So one thing I'd always recommend is jumping on the website of that person or something, or if someone you trust, then that's great. But fret jobs are a really, really big job. A setup is kind of like, well, I didn't like how you set up my guitar. I'll take it to somebody else or try it myself, or hey, I'll watch these live streams and see how to do it. That's one thing to do, but yeah, fret work is really easy to damage a neck and make things worse. So as far as that price point goes, I would say that you're probably in the right ballpark to getting it done. Oh, 100%. Yeah. So, I mean, like if you're telling me that it's important to you and stuff, I would say just spend the money and get it done or repaired. Like I said, depending on how deep it is, you might be able to just get that one fret or a couple of frets done. Yeah, I would check that out. And of course, price dependent. Everyone's got different prices and rates. Typically, it's because there's different skill levels. So that's kind of where I was going with that. So like if you don't get a well done fret job, there's not much you can do with that. So, and that's one of the ones that's going to be coming out. I'm going to be doing these live streams for the fourth, like, in the next couple of weeks. I'm probably going to be on here daily every 2 weeks, just kind of seeing what's going on and seeing who's watching and stuff. So that one will probably be one that I'm pulling out shortly. Is actually I have to refret it, and then I'll show you the neck and what that looks like, because it's scary. But fret levels is a very, very common thing to get done, I guess, in short. Sorry, I talk a lot. To get that, to answer your question, yes, it probably would be worth it to get a fret job. And even if it was a full fret level, you'll notice a world of difference of playability. Okay. So right now I'm just measuring my nut slots to see if this is all going to work. I don't think this is wide enough, actually. The one that was supplied to me, anyway. I have other ones here. Yeah, fret work used to actually scare me when I first started doing this. And I thought that I was doing a good job, and now a couple of years later, I realized that I did not do a good job on those guitars. I do actually know the people that I did them to. When I first started this, it was friends and stuff, so I called them up and I was like, bring that back. It's on me. And then it went a lot better. But yeah, I think it's something about the shine. I'm really a big fan of like shiny frets, clean, polished frets, all that kind of stuff. Because if it's something that you've had for a while too, you might have rough frets. So part of the fret level is, or should be, is a nice polish, nice dressing, and you get rid of all those scratches, even on the other frets. And you'll notice just, yeah, an absolute world of difference of playability. And yeah, I like these grudges. I personally actually own. Where'd my ruler go? My rule. I personally own an electric matter. Or sorry, wow, Sparkle Jet, which is like the electromatic. That's the word I was trying to say. Yeah, that is not wide enough. Yeah, well, there you go. Getting, especially if it's not something that you're playing, and then getting something that you will play. That makes a huge difference, but. Yeah, that's a cool thing when you actually have, you're meaning like you bought a brand new Jackson? Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing what happens. But the funny thing is too is it's like, well, not it's just not funny, but what happens a lot of those times too is like with a brand new guitar, you'll notice in a period of time that they'll wear out, and that's just the wood shifts and moves, and that's just kind of par for the course. And sometimes they need a little bit of addressing, which is fine. It's just a terminology thing. People generally call like a fret level is a huge thing, where you're sanding everything down, leveling it out. But Jackson actually is really good at that, depending on where your price point is. But yeah, they make a really nice playing guitar. Their necks, I like how their necks feel nice and smooth. Sorry, I am open for business, so I'll be doing this hopping in and out, but you won't hear me on phone calls or anything, but I am here. uh, I miss that new guitar feeling. I actually now I'm at the point of where I'm looking for an old guitars that I can restore, make my own. Um, but yeah, I can't even. Oh, I have a couple Music Men that I bought new. Oh yeah, there you go. Floyd Rose. Yeah, I did some shorts on Floyd Rose, and it's funny. I never even thought about it, but the amount of comments of people being like, "I can't stand a Floyd Rose. Why did I buy this? I just wanted to be like, enter Floyd player." Um, yeah, they have the ability of tuning it and so forth, but yeah, those are actually a lot of fun. Actually, kind of speaking of exactly what I was saying, just restoring. I actually have some. Well, it's not a Jackson, but um, I found I got this on Marketplace for like $100, and it's an Ibanez, but it's one of the gems. So as you can see, it's not complete, and it was white, and I guess there was some finish damage on it in shipping, and like this is for me, well, me quote unquote the shop, but I'm actually going to like do this totally randomly because these normally with the monkey handle grip and stuff. These are a little bit on the pricier side, and then it's got obviously all the Floyd and stuff in there. But I think I'm going to go and have some fun and recap it, like do like a maple cap and put some jumbo stainless frets in there or something. But I always like those kind of those fun little projects. And for the price, I was like, yeah, I don't really do that so much, like the restoration stuff. Sorry, like refinishing. But I think I want to kind of get into that. It's just a little bit more of like, it's totally broken, no one gets it. I have a whole series of guitars that are, oh, actually, you can see them behind me here, but these guitars are all right off declined work and stuff, and a lot of them I'm turning into just random things like that. And I'll probably do, yeah, like a maple cap, maybe do like a cool stain on it, or I might even just go crazy and do like a crazy in the sense of like that guitar comes white, period. So I'll do it in like seashell or shell pink or something, just something different. So that's like an original piece, and kind of go from there. But yeah, that I don't have any Floyd guitars, so that's kind of what interested me in that. So that's cool that you've got one as well. Oh yeah, see that's cool. Sometimes people don't know what they have, but then also there's a part of where you can get a really good deal. So, and actually, I really encourage those types of projects. Like this one, I think was something that the guy started and he did some damage to it, and he went, "Uh oh," and kind of panicked. So I stripped the rest of the finish off of it, but there's a line obviously, but it's a lot of fun when you can buy something like that's not a cheap guitar. I think those are whatever. I don't remember how much those things are, but it's not like a $200 guitar. So buying that maybe used and wanting to do some mods and not having any idea might be kind of a dangerous thing to do. But at the same time, at the other end of that, it'll be really cool because that's like your custom one-off piece. But those Showmasters, yeah, those are neat. I don't see those very often, but when they come through, they are pretty cool. I had an '80s like Fender Bullet come through, and you're like, okay, it's a Fender Bullet. But in the '80s, those guitars were made totally differently, and it was the coolest thing. The bridge plate was just this huge piece, and anyway, it was really entertaining to play. And it was just like, it's funny how you would kind of pass that or dismiss that, but it turns into a really fun guitar. I think price has a big factor on that, though. If you find something for a good deal, you kind of make it happen. But yeah, that's cool. I always like those finds. I spend Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, having a niche or having a one-off is funny, but at the end of the day, we're still all just playing the same G chord, right? So, I think it's a funny thing that it is that we do, that we collect and enjoy, and want to share. But it's our passion. That's what we enjoy doing. And that's funny because it's like this is not something that I ever thought I would be doing. Like doing this and repairing guitars. Never in my life did I think I was going to be doing this. I've been a session player for years and, you know, whatever, yada, yada. But it's funny because it's like, it's just cool when you talk to other guitar folk, just how, and sometimes those conversations can go on for a long time, but it's just fun how everyone just really loves what it is that they do. And that's cool. It's cool to have, you know, a hobby, whatever that might be. But I think having a niche guitar for a niche player, I think that is, yes, everyone's kind of dream there. So. All right. I wonder if I have something else that will fit this. Actually, how's this doing? I'm trying to get this glued up. Oh, I think we're there. That's so awesome. Good for you. Yeah, the music, taking music, it was not something that I mean, I did through high school and stuff, but I never like went to post education for it. I did the whole audio engineer stuff and I was like, yeah, I'm going to work in a studio and it's going to be great. And then that world got, nope, that didn't work. But yeah, having music performance, that's really cool. And then you can be able to understand what it is that you're able to do. And it is one of those things where, yeah, you never thought that that could actually be career or your job or whichever way you want to look at that. But when I first started music, kind of like professionally, I'll say, I was a teenager and doing the whole drum thing. And if I got mad, I just went and, you know, pounded my drums, and that was my release. I'm not an angry person by any means, but what I'm saying is like it was amazing how much of just a release that was. Same thing with playing guitar, or you change your mood, you can start writing songs. It's very cool how awesome music is. Yes, it's very true. Those first couple of gigs that you take too, that are like, you know, session player or whatever you want to call it, they're a little nerve wracking because you're not really too sure, and you're probably in a room with people that are better than you, which I think is good for you. In any case, I say you proverbially, like anyone that's in a room with someone else like that, because it just gives you another. I don't know what the word is. Like it just gives you motivation, I guess, to think that you can get there. I know that did for me. It humbled me very quickly. I worked very hard on my very first like hired gig, and this guy came in like the last minute and just, but he was amazing. He came in, learned everything in like 2 days, and then we're on stage with him, and I was just blown away by that. But that was something that's like I'm going to work towards that, and now for a long period of time, that's what I did. My shop is too busy now. I don't get to play as much as I wanted or used to, but that was a really cool thing, is being able to be in that mindset and work your way through it. So. Congrats on school. That's really cool. Yeah, well, there's some guitarists for you. Tim knows what's going on. And if you're listening to that, it also makes sense on why you have a Floyd Rose. So. Yeah, I don't understand how those. I don't understand that mathematical. And it's funny. Like I'm self-taught musician, so I'm not claiming to be a pro by any means, but I was able to get pro enough that I can like get through gigs. But really, it was more so in just kind of learning how chord sequences and so forth. But anyone that has that type of technical mind, I have so much respect for because you can make you can make that sound very musical, um, and obviously it's very technically demanding as well. It's kind of the same way when I first heard Plini, and I was just like, "Wow, that is incredible. That is." And I think the cool thing is, without getting too philosophical about it all, is I think it's really cool that um, when you have a guitar, I mean, the guitar's it hasn't been out for a terribly long time in life in general, but it's cool to see how over the generations how it can change so rapidly from say Eric Clapton to BB King to like whatever. Like it's amazing how it's still the same six strings and how someone can just totally change that. That whole style of music is just, I find it really interesting. It's really fun to listen to as well. Different time signatures and all that kind of stuff. This thing keeps freaking out of me. Yeah, well, it all counts. It all counts as music, you know? So, and actually, it's funny for me personally. I am not a lead player. I can't shred. I can handle myself and I can play some notes, but I really like rhythm. And I also started on drums, and I feel as though that really helped me. There's a lot of guys in my area and gals actually. There's some great musicians around me that are they can handle that. And then I do all the rhythm stuff, and that's where I always come in. And I actually love it. I can lock in with the bass player, lock in with the drummer. The odd time I'll play a solo here and there, and then when someone needs to get their face melted off, it goes over to that person. So I think it's awesome being multi instrumental. It's not obviously imperative, but it's really nice to help, especially with like piano is another big one too. Especially if you're in like that style of music, because you can actually hear inversion chords and different shapes and stuff. You can have a lot of fun changing your perspective on that. Hmm. All right. Seem to be back in business there. That was weird. Just had a pretty good drop there. That is very true. That is a really interesting. That's an interesting conversation. I've done a little bit of that. Maybe that comes in part of performance. I'm obviously not too sure, but like I've tuned guitars in like 432 hertz versus 440. I don't know if you've gone down that rabbit hole, but it's interesting because those frequencies resonate clearer with you versus someone in a standard tuning. And I started to go a little bit down that and started to kind of look into it. And there's a lot of stuff on like YouTube and stuff. You can watch like live videos and stuff that where it even says like 432 hertz. So it's a better tuning. I mean, it's out by just that much according to my Strobo tuner. But yeah, that is apparently supposed to be just a next level changing. It's the same thing with like what's the term that they used for that? I can't think of what the term is, but one of the guys I tech for, he was showing me that. Yeah, you should. I think 432 hertz. So depending on your tuner, you should be able to change the frequency. So obviously A is 440, but if you bring it to 432, it's supposed to resonate. So take that as you will. But yeah, one of the guys that I tech with, he, I want to say partial tuning. What is the heck is that called? And it's basically, it was from Variax, I believe. Like James Tyler from Variax. See if I can find that. Of course, it's telling me how to set up a Line 6 Variax, which I'm not interested in. But anyway, I can't think of what it's called, but it's kind of the same thing where you're not necessarily tuning your string to E and A. You're tuning it to like E at 430 hertz and A at 444 hertz and so forth. And it's interesting. You play it and it seems out of tune, but somehow when you play like full chords, you can feel it. You can feel the difference there, which is yeah, it's that stuff. Going to your comment, I find also very fascinating. Even if you're playing the same song, you can still play all the same songs, but it just resonates differently. It just feels differently as you're playing it, which is pretty powerful. Going on the same rabbit hole as the whole powerful music thing. I like watching documentaries of these people that are in like they've got mental health issues and they're in a hospital and they're just, they're mute. They don't talk. They can't say anything. They don't really respond to human interaction. But then all of a sudden a piano plays in the corner and it's their favorite song, or it's a song comes on, or they put there's a couple documentaries that I watched that did that. And then all of a sudden, as soon as they put this music in, it just brought them back to when they were younger, and they got up and they started dancing and they're singing around, and it's like going to the comment of music is very powerful. It's incredible to actually see that and just how much that can just change. Also, how powerful the mind is. let's not skip that. But those two things together, just the remembrance of music as well as just the mind, just brought him back to, and it happened across multiple. It wasn't just one person. It was a whole bunch of different people. I thought it was a really, really cool documentary. I can't think of what it's called now, but it's probably off of Netflix by now. But all that stuff is pretty fun. after this one. So in this guy, all I'm doing is I had, this was a flood ukulele, and I'm just kind of reshaping some of the wood a little bit. It has warped and been all mismatched now, and I've steamed a lot of it to get kind of closer back to where I need it. Just a little bit more. It is very, very close for me being able to glue this up, at least the top part, because there is no back on it. I can, and then once I get this all lined up, then the back should go on pretty easily. But yeah, we are very, very close to this. Cool. But yeah, changing. I've actually never played in that tuning myself, actually, come to think of it. Changing my reference pitch. Well, I appreciate you being here. Thank you. But you gotta stay on top of it. You gotta stay top of the game. Yeah, I think what I'm gonna do, I'm just kind of like I'm working. This is just me working, and I'm just kind of doing my thing. So this is definitely not the last time. Like I said, I'm trying the live stream thing again. I am streaming to YouTube and Twitch, and just kind of seeing what's going on, seeing if there's any interest in this as I kind of do my thing. It's a little bit nicer to talk to someone rather than myself. But yeah, I don't know how often I'm going to be doing this. For the next couple of weeks, I'll be here probably daily or very close to, and kind of finding the best time that works for kind of everybody. And then after that, we'll kind of go through. But I do a lot of content. I'm getting into a lot of content as far as like long format repairs, things that I'm actually got on my bench. I've got a couple of them going right now. I have probably 30 videos or so of repair for me to actually sit down and edit. I don't have enough time to do everything. But those are all kind of things that I'm getting to as far as repairs that I'm like working through, and then also, I guess I'll call it a training series, but you know, how to set up a Floyd, how to set up a hardtail, how to set up an acoustic, so forth. So how do you revise chemistry? I guess you first have to understand it, right? I like the concept of being able to understand chemistry, but that was definitely not my strong suit either. We are so close here. I just like the concept of chemistry, like the actual like experiments and making, you know, whatever it is that you wanted to do. I find that fascinating, but to fully understand what it is that you're doing and the chemical reaction behind everything and so forth, it's just like, yeah, you lost me. I'm a guitar player. Yeah, there you go. Well, that's good. Yeah, it's funny. I kind of took the cheap way out. I did a lot of stuff through high school. I did all of the. I wanted to be in band. I wanted to be in drama. I was doing all like the theater tech stuff. I've done that really from kind of that age. So I took the cheap way out through school, which I regret. So my last couple of years, I didn't take English. It was like a lower case of it, which I kind of regret doing now, but what are you going to do? I never thought I was going to get this close to this. This is actually kind of exciting. If you find gluing a ukulele up to be exciting. Wow. Yeah, you lost me. I mean, I guess that's good for someone to understand how ink works, but not high. Yeah, I guess that's the thing of knowing, having to need to know that. It's not something that everyone needs to know, but almost ready to glue up the back of this. Holy man, is that ever way out. Once this is done, then I'll get back to the Gretsch. It's on the bench there. Multitasking is definitely a thing in a repair shop. Should mark where I need to take some wood off. This region. It's funny you mentioned that because that's the one thing I struggle at a lot. is cooking. I find it so nerve-wracking. Yet I can work on 10 different things here, know what's going on with every guitar. I know parts, if I have to order parts, where they're coming from. But yeah, as soon as I stand over a stove, I just panic. But I also haven't spent as much time doing that as I should. So that's probably part of that, but We're over our drop frames. That was weird. It dropped substantially. Did it again, but I think we're okay. This has been really annoying to deal with, actually. This ukulele. It's not an instrument I'm a big fan of, but I gotta put my own personal feelings aside. But having to spend this much time on one makes me upset internally. Just a little bit more on this, and then I'm ready to glue this up. Which is one of my 2 goals that I wanted to do for today, or at least this session. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. And yes, you will see me again. I'll be doing this again, and then there's, content and all that fun stuff. So I'll see you on the next one. Really? Well, that sucked. Yeah, this wood is so dry. Actually, I'm gonna have something a little bit stronger than this. There we go. I gotta glue the top back together again as well, which is real neat. Oh, there we go. There we go. So I'm going to wait on that. I don't need that at the moment. Problem is, I don't know where this is actually going to be better aligned. So no part does this actually line up. I think I could just sand that part off. Okay. That checks out. Throw some glue in that. The joys of always gluing this stuff up is trying to come up with a nice plan of attack. It's always always good to do a dry mock-up before you add glue to a situation, but if I put glue in there, clamp it. Alright, I'll put glue in this as well as that. I should be able to get it all together. Actually, I'm going to clean my spatula first. Makes it a little bit easier to get the glue in and out. Ugh. All right, got all the dry glue off of that. It's probably one of the more satisfying things I got to do. Picking it off comes off in these little sheets, and it's awesome. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue up the crack that's in here. I've got a crack along the side. Because I split it going back and forth, but it's easy to get to at this moment. So if I glue this up and let it sit, and then add glue along this ridge, and then add glue along this ridge, then line it all up. I think that's the best plan of attack. Hopefully everything is flawless. Yeah, there we go. Normally I'd have like some wet paper towel or something for some cleanup, but as I immediately drip glue on my clean mats. That's not what I meant to do. You always have to move fairly quick, actually. I'm realizing at this moment I didn't get a side clamp. Side. Using gravity in my favor here. Put a little bit of a ball of glue up top, and then just letting it kind of pour down the side, which is like exactly what I need it to do. There's one part of that. One more dollop of glue, we should be good here. Okay. Where is it leaking from? It's leaking glue on me, but not going where I want it to. Which is, of course, ideal. Everything I'm looking for. Theory should be enough. Oh boy. Fairly large glue up actually. Okay, so number one, let's get this one going. So we'll do that there. And then with these, I'm going to do a little bit as we go here. No, I need you to stay. Be good. Oh yeah, it's starting to set already. Shoot. Definitely not ideal. glue. I just need a small block. Not too big. Whew. There's a lot of things happening on this one. If I can get the other one in there. This actually might work just perfectly. Oh, waka waka. Holy Hannah. That is one of the craziest glue ups I think I've done in quite some time. I don't know if you can even see that. Let's change it to this one. Not really, but there is a whole bunch of chaos happening here. So moving it back and forth put a split along the top. So this clamp is squeezing the top together The sides of it, like connecting to the sides, that's still intact. I just split the wood running down the face. So I've got glue in there, and then this clamp is squeezing everything together. And then we've got our sides that are doing the top, so I'm putting the top back on, which is great. And then, actually, I think I'm poking through just a touch here with this top. Yes, I am. I wonder if I care that much. And then all of these spool clamps are holding the top down. I'm gluing the top back to the sides, and that's going to squeeze it all together. Then I've got this main trigger clamp is holding the top together, but there's also a heel block in there. So there's a bigger piece of wood that's holding the whole top together, and it goes further down the top. And looking on the inside as well, got nice squeeze out on that, so that's perfect. That's ideal. That's what you're looking for. Yeah, that looks good. And then these two C clamps, I got two of them. There's one here, and then there's one that's on the inside. What that's doing is it's holding the two pieces here, fold up and go over the heel block, and then these two are holding the lips down. So I've got one here holding the sides together. I've got 4 spool clamps holding the top together. I guess this trigger clamp also is part of that because it's holding the top to the heel block. And then I've got the 2 C clamps that are holding the lips of the sides to the heel block. And then we just hope that when we take all the clamps off, probably tomorrow, that it all lines up. And I don't know if it will. But that's the bottom, or sorry, that's the top piece. I've taken the bottom off. So we will then clean this up, and then hopefully it all just lines up. And we can snap that. Sorry, then we can just snap that back together, and that does the trick for us. Yeah, I feel neutral on that. So we'll see. Everything's warped and moved so much on this that we're gonna have to do some damage. So I already know, / half expecting that when I glue this back up put the top back on, it's not going to quite fit perfectly. So I have a very strong feeling. And also there's a ton of lacquer cracks on this, so I think that when it all comes off and when it's all glued up and all the clamps come off, we're going to have to do some sanding to make this a nice smooth thing. Which is not always a fun to do. So anyway, that one is glued up. So that is one of them checked off the list. So let's update it. That's what this is. Let's update it. And we can just say, or maybe we can just do, what should we do? Let's do that. Right? Is that what we should do? Let's do that. I don't have a check mark. Maybe I get a check emoji. Maybe we do GG's, for a great guitar. Oh, I think we might have to do that. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna go to the washroom, and then when I come back, we will do this Gretsch sitting here, and that'll be that. Be right back. Sorry, I got lost. Ended up having to make a tea. It's banana bread. All right. So that thing behind me is going. It's glued. Oops, sorry, that was the wrong one. So now let's go to this. And on this one, what we are doing is we are getting a nut. Right, that's what I was doing. Actually, I think that's this one. 6116. Yeah, it is. Which is indeed too thin. Yes, this should do the trick. All right, let's line you up. Okay, let's get this out of here. We don't need this. And that's for when we're done, so we can get this out of here as well. Kind of clean up the shot a little bit. Let you see what's going on. I've been actually really enjoying cleaning my bench after every guitar. I don't normally do that, but it has felt very, very good. So after every guitar, I just clean everything up, and then it's starting right back to kind of square one on the next one, which is nice. 6116, so I think that actually is. Let's get this out of the way. Then at the end of the night, you just sweep it all up, and I'm ready for the next day of activities. There we are. Oh boy. Oh boy. I am not really too sure what to do with that. So what's happened here is the nut slot has been changed. So this angle has been changed. And so it's not square. Obviously, when you get them, regardless of where you get them from, I don't normally like to use these prefab ones. This particular one was requested to put on, so okay. But I like to actually use bone. So in that case, I will custom it to any shape that I'm putting it in. So I will try and get this as square as possible, and then I've just got a slab of bone, and then I carve it to kind of final shape. I prefer that for various reasons, but anyway, we don't have that. So what we're gonna do, now which one am I using? It's not this one. It's this one. Yes, okay, let's get this out. 6, which I think is this. Yeah, and then we have the ability of swapping this out. So it's still off by quite a bit, so we'll have to clean this up a little bit. Which is always a little dangerous if you go too far, because then you're changing off the square. We just want this to be nice and straight. Don't really want it to rock from side to side or anything. I'm actually going to change my file to a square one. There we go. That should be a little bit better. And that allows me to hopefully square up between them. All right. We got momentum. We're going. Still a lot rocking here, though. Holy moly. So we can go one of a couple different ways with this. We can either just put this nut on an angle. It's kind of tough to get this. I don't think I'm going to be able to get this close enough to a viewing position, but basically this angle is kind of sloping down now that we're getting rid of all that old glue, which is probably the reason, actually, to be honest, why this wasn't lining up in the first place. So what I'm going to do here is kind of bring down this backside. It's not really exciting stuff. But what I'll be doing, I guess, is kind of just making my way as I work through these. In past, I've kind of found like the really cool and most exciting thing and then try and live stream it, but I also film a lot of these repairs, so as I'm working on them. Yeah, that is really hideous. Wish you could see this. I was trying to show it earlier, but like the fingerboard doesn't go as far as like the top, which I think is walnut, if I'm not mistaken, on this guitar, and then you can see the finish is actually coming through. If I'm not mistaken, because in past I've actually sanded this off. I did a refret on one, and I actually sanded all the black off, all of the ebony stain, and it was a really cool finish underneath. It looked great. And I remember looking it up then, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's walnut. Anyway, all I'm trying to do at this particular moment is kind of square this up a little bit. I don't want to go totally crazy and customize the nut that much if I can avoid it. Yeah, we're already getting better. Less rocking. Keep going with that actually. It's always good to kind of check your work as you go, especially with this stuff, because you can go too far and now all of a sudden it'll never fit. Just double checking. I don't remember. So the other thing that I can do as well with the nut is actually kind of taper it down, kind of like a Martin does actually. Martin actually has a slanted slot. So it doesn't sit square, it's not a 90-degree angle, it actually has a bit of a back taper towards the headstock, if you really look at them closely. So I might just do that and kind of make up the difference. Whoever put this nut in before really messed up the angle on that, so... And we do have some space to kind of give width on this nut. Yeah, it's rocking less and less, which is obviously the idea. I'm just gonna, I have a sanding, I sand off of my jointer because it's a nice flat metal surface, which is behind me here. I don't think it's even gonna be in shot. No, I don't think so, even if I were to flip to the other camera. So anyway, I'll be back and forth doing that. Especially with these prefab nuts, there's a lot that I guess is to be desired. But they'll have these like little machining marks. So these little circles, I guess that's from like the templates or dies that they put them in. And what starts to happen, you get these little burrs, which obviously is going to make it also not sit in there straight. So we're going to change that anyway. So I'm not terribly worried about it. I just want to get rid of it so that I can get a little bit of a better. Yeah, see, that's already better. So I can get a better idea of how far off it is. And we're certainly getting closer to this. And I think we might be getting plain. So I will go a little bit further down because I still have the room to give. I'm not going crazy. But with this, that should make it a little bit less of a break angle on the nut. And then we'll take the rest out on the nut itself. So if that makes any sense, rather than it starting here and tapering back to the headstock, I'm taking off material on the inside of this nut slot, right in here, which then will kind of reduce that angle, and then I can still have some. It's not really a priority, or it's not a playability concern. It's just an aesthetic concern. At least for me. That's one of like the first things I look at. I don't really know why that is, but There's probably all sorts of interesting sentences you can say about why that's the first thing I look at, but I beg to differ. So when you're shaping a nut, you want to kind of go back and forth. So I'm going like this way, and I'm trying to, you can see we still have a lot of movement in there, but that's one thing. And then also rocking it from side to side. So now I'm going this way, and allows you to see kind of how everything's kind of laid out. And we got a fair amount of movement in here actually. So yeah, one side is higher than the other. I really wish I had my appropriate files. They are on the road with one of my friends. So it's a square nut slot. It has file marks on all three edges. You just run it a couple of passes and it gives you a nice clean right angle. That way you don't have to do this. Let me take a look at that other one again. Okay. Well, it's getting us a little bit closer now. This is the annoying part. It's actually one of my least favorite things to do, to be honest, is trying to fit one of these prefab already a mile better from what we were removing. I actually think I might go with a narrow one there instead. Yeah, our rocking is almost fully gone, which is telling us that our side to side is now level with one another. Kind of, sort of. Yeah, there we go. Also, that side is quite a bit taller than the other side. This is fun. I'm having fun. Everything here is fun. This is all fun. I might not make my way through this guitar, actually, on this live. I do have to take off shortly. What time is it? 4:30? Yeah. Oh, we are getting there. We are very, very close. This section in here, it's a little off. We are sitting flat on that side. All right. Still not perfect, but we are at least together. On this side, pretty substantially shaved there. Now, which way am I? This way. Ugh. I'm losing my patience. Now our rocking has gone to almost nothing. Almost nothing. Yeah, just a couple more minutes here, and then I'm gonna have to